I'm thinking of bobbing my hair. What do you think? Just kind of, I don't know, all this length. Well, it's just because I can't get to the, I didn't even do my nails.
Well,
It's like,
if you're concerned about looking younger, it hides all the awful stuff. I mean,
your hair hides all the awful
it
stuff.
does. I mean, you can pull it down over a wrinkle. You can put neck. You can. It's like it's the most magic part of. And I said, you have just made my day. Hey, my name is Susie, and I am so glad that you have joined us today for our virtual yarn circle. We are going to have a ball today.
And my name is Linda, and we like to think of our gathering here as a little group therapy. Oh my gosh, it's so true though. I mean, it really is never about the hair color.
It's
really dark hair.
It's the covering. And there's this
it's a softness. It's a
softness and covering, and there's like this this place where that you don't need to go too short or you don't need to go too long.
Really
but I think if we get older, I mean, have a style that is covering up something, you know. And
that's what I'm saying. We have a lot
use it to cover.
But then there's the situation of the person who's still wearing the same hairstyle as when she was in high school. Gee, I know.
You know, mine was long and straight, and it's still long and kind of straight.
That's not long hair. That's considered medium hair.
Medium.
That's medium.
Yeah.
And then there's the people who dye their hair like really dark, and it's like everything on our body's fading. Our eyebrows are fading. Our hair color's fading. Our skin tone
don't
is fading.
Get me started on the eyebrows.
Well, the thing is that you don't want this black head of hair. No, let your hair get soft. I mean, really,
the eyebrows don't need to be strong and bold either as we get older. I mean, I see some ladies sometimes, and this is what I want to say.
Black.
Whoa, you have eyebrows. I don't see anything else but eyebrows. And you know,
while we're on a roll, let's just keep going. Here's another beauty tip. So the one beauty tip is have softness around your face. That's a given.
Yes,
Second beauty tip,
when you get to hit 60, don't use black on your eyebrows anymore. If you're a brunette like me, use a charcoal gray. That's what I've got on my eyebrows, and believe it or not, I don't have any. I have to draw them in. These are drawn in eyebrows. But it's a charcoal gray, and it's soft. It's not black and hard. So
and the other thing is the black eyeliner on the bottom lid.
Yeah,
no,
I use charcoal gray.
Just stop it. And really, the best thing that really looks soft is eyeshadow with a liner brush, just a soft shadow. But you know, it really closes up your eyes, which are kind of closing anyway. When you have that black eyeliner, it's like no. That was cool when you were 18 and your eyes were this big.
But when people get to be our age, they can't see to put it on. That's why people come to eyelash extensions.
Yeah.
And so they need a pencil. And so if you've got to have a pencil and you're a brunette, you need to use a charcoal gray. You know, because it's lighter, it gives you a pencil, it's not that harsh black. Right. And I can talk about brunettes. What color do you use with your color? You use an eyeshadow?
On my bottom, I use a almost charcoal black eyeshadow with a skinny liner brush. I don't use eyeliner at all.
You're using black on your bottom?
It's not black, but it's almost black. But
it's
so soft. It's so soft. Well, probably close to, but I mean, it looks black in there. But the thing is when you use an eyeliner brush, it's real soft.
Yeah.
So there's no stark line. Since we're on a roll, let's talk about the boobs. Oh my
Oh
goodness.
Lord.
I listen, you will look thinner and younger when your boobs are not in your waistline. You've got to get them up. You've got to get them where they belong. And honestly, it literally makes you look so fresh. It makes you look fresh.
Yeah.
When they're sagging, you look tired and old. And my friend, what is that one woman, that cartoon woman, and she's always got them in like they're almost tucked into her waistband. It's like, stop it. They're not your belt. Your bra should not be a belt. Your bra should be up here. And it really halfway between your elbow and.
I can't believe we're talking.
I know, but this is what we do. We have to change. Maybe we should change the whole episode. Call it the makeover episode.
Hey, Linda. One time I was at a salon and one of the ladies in there, they had these hair dryers that the older people. It was actually at a senior center, and my birth father, he was working there. We'll have to go into that. That's not going to make sense, but I have a father that I call my daddy, and then I have a birth father. But anyway, my birth father was a cosmetologist, and he was working at a senior center hair salon. And so all the people in there were old. And so there was this woman, she was a hairstylist, and she was getting ready to go have her breasts reduced. She was very large breasted. She was talking about how much pain she had with it, and back pain.
Cannot relate.
Well, I couldn't either. And so
no, but I can imagine.
I said, well, look, when they lay you up there on that table, you reckon they let me lay on the other one and they give me what they take off of you? He said, well, I don't know, but I bet there's a lot of people that would want what I'm getting him to cut off of me. Oh. And so beside me, so everybody was talking about boobs at that point. And so there was this little old lady that was sitting there getting her hair dry. And she had her hair up in rollers, and she probably was 90 years old. And she was sitting there like this with that hair dryer on top of her head, not saying a word, but she was sitting there listening to us. And all of a sudden, she raised her head up, and she looked at me, and she said, well, when you get to be my age, all you had is nipples and skin. And I thought, oh my Lord, that is true. You lose all because boobs are nothing but fat.
Oh my gosh, nipples and
all
skin.
You have is nipples and skin.
Oh,
okay.
Oh my goodness.
Whew, okay.
I know that it's really something. I mean, we want to age well, but the thing is we have to, we have to be real. You have to look at your reality and work the best you can with your reality, because if you're always trying to alter your reality, it never really looks good.
No.
And I mean, when I said when you're always, I'm not saying if you do things, but like some of these people are like chronic, like you see these movie stars, these chronic, plastic surgery people. It's like an addiction, and pretty soon they don't even look the same. Have you seen Madonna? You couldn't pick her up in a lineup. I mean, she doesn't even look like the person who used to be on a stage. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I guess you might get to an age and you say, I've lived in this old body for so long, I want to look like a completely different person.
But I think
maybe, I don't know.
Learning to age well, learning when we can't do that anymore, or it's time to do this, it's like aging well. And when, I remember when my body began to change, and I used to have this little teeny waistline. It was 23 inches around when I got married. I was kind of like a bag of bones. and I'm 5'8". And so I was a little teeny thing when I got married, and I was always used to these clothes that accented my waistline, and I loved it. My husband loved it. But
Yeah, well,
I hit those perimenopausal years and my body began to change. And I would go to my closet and I would think, oh, this doesn't fit me anymore. And it wasn't that
whose clothes are these?
I had gained a lot of weight. It was that my body was changing. And I remember telling my mama one time, I said, I am so tired of having a big butt. I am so tired, because even when I had a small waistline, I had plenty of behind. And she said, honey, she said, listen, there are 3 stages in a woman's life. She said, there's when they're the little girl, she said they had the big little pot bellies and they don't have a waistline. And she said, and then all of a sudden the hormones start cycling and their waistline starts slimming up and their breasts begin to grow and they had that hourglass look. She said, actually, she said there's 4 stages. So that's the second stage. She said, and then the third stage, she said, you get chubby again. Those perimenopausal. Here she said, you start to lose that little waistline. It starts spreading. And she said, and eventually you have 2 butts. You have one at the back and one at the front. And then the 4th stage is your body is preparing for death and you don't like to eat anymore and you start losing weight and you become skinny again. And she said, just love being chubby. She said, just love chubby. And it's like, I'm in that 3rd stage of life. And so she said, just love chubby, because you know what the next stage is.
Oh man, I know. I'll tell you.
So,
My
we have to age well and love ourselves where we're at. I think that's the bottom line.
I think so. Yeah. And honestly, the prettiest thing on a woman is her smile. Just smile, be happy, and find the joy in every moment, even, when was it? 2 days ago? 2 days ago, I spent the entire day, at the hospital. It was restful to some degree. I didn't really do very much. Hey, my husband stayed home because he needed a break. He's gone now to the hospital. He's been there every day. He cleaned the house. I walked him through using the Instapot. And he made chili. I sent him the recipe. He did it. He called me through certain stages. I came home. The house smelled amazing. And my love language is acts of service anyway.
Oh, mine is too.
It smelled so good. I came home. The dishes were done. The counter was,
wow.
And I thought, this was not a bad day. It was a good day. So you got to find that, did I not maybe get done other things I wanted to do? It didn't matter. It was like, it's okay. And he said, I just cleaned the kitchen. Then I blew it up making this chili, and then I had to clean it again. Yeah. I said, welcome to my world. We need to talk about our name. Our name is Yarn Over with Us. So, of course, in knitting, a yarn over is a stitch where we make a little hole, right?
Mm-hmm. Little hole.
Okay. But a yarn is actually, I'm going to read this. Spinning a good yarn means telling a story full of twists, turns, and a little bit of creativity. So when we say, come on and yarn over with us, we're saying, come on and join us for some stories, because really that's what this channel is all about, is we're just doing girl talk. And so our channel is about,
while you knit and crochet or do whatever craft you are, that's
or drive.
What it's about. Yeah. Well, there's not much more to say about that. That's why you're hearing all these yarns.
I know.
Yarn, we're giving you yarns.
Yeah, that's what we do. We just tell stories.
When I hear yarn over with us, I also think of come on over here with us. But we're playing on the words of of yarn a story or yarn in a craft. And I
Yep.
just love to play on the words, yarn on over
I
with
know.
us. I just think it's
I know.
fun. I love it.
It's fun. I know. It's
I
just
love
fun.
it.
So, what is this channel all about? People are like, oh, are you going to try to get monetized? Honestly, our goal, we don't even think about that. I mean, it can take years, sometimes like 5 years before you have enough content and views and whatever to be monetized. I mean, if it happens, it happens. But really, we are here just really for group therapy, just
Yeah.
to build our virtual yarn circle, to share stories that we think people will enjoy. It's a little bit of a legacy thing for me too. I think one day my kids don't watch it now, which actually I'm kind of
Mine
glad.
don't either.
But that's great. I'm actually kind of glad my kids don't watch it, because
Yeah,
we
me
don't have to
too.
wear that mom hat at all, And so anyway, but one day, either when I'm really old or just really gone, they'll watch it, and my grandchildren will get to watch it. It's
Yeah.
so wild. Kids today are so comfortable being in front of a camera, because it's a selfie generation, right? So my 6-year-old, she is so darling. Like every time she does something, we were canning. It was the Christmas jam. And she said, Lala, they call me Lala. She said, record me. And I said, okay. And so, I got the camera, but instead of just doing it, she said, something to the order of, well, today we're going to make jam. And she started out as if she was some, host on a YouTube channel. She's a natural. So I thought to myself, wow. So yeah, one day they're going to see our channel, and they will, just kind of maybe even know their moms in a different way,
Yeah.
because we're always momming, we wear different hats.
And probably hear some stories that they've never heard before.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
That's
so
true.
that'll be
So,
wonderful. Because
but
when me and you talk, we talk about so many things, but one of the things that we talk about the most is our family. And
yeah,
we tell stories and things that happened last week or 2 months ago or whatever. And so telling stories is so wonderful, and people relate to that. They relate to a
yeah.
story, because
Oh,
my
yeah.
story could be something that you went through or something that you're struggling with. And so,
Right.
and isn't that what yarn circles are? There are times
Yeah.
to get together and tell yarns while that they
Yeah.
knit or crochet with their yarn.
I know there are times that we don't even, well, I usually do eventually, but there's times that some of the members of our yarn group don't even knit. We just
You're
talk.
so busy
We just talk
talking.
and sip on a warm drink, and we just do that. But so anyway, we're just going to continue to have fun. We're having fun, and but we are going to have some new additions for you guys.
And
One
I'm
of
excited
them,
about this.
yeah, one of them is we are going to have a website, and the reason we're going to do a website is so that all of our recipes, all of the different links that we share over time, they will all be in one place. It's sometimes hard, like, you might say, oh, what episode did they talk? Yeah, and then they have to scour. And so it'll just be a little bit of a mailbox for you to go, or a file cabinet, I should say, to go find some resources. So it's really going to be more about resources. And is there anything else? What else are we going to do? Oh,
That's it. We wanted to tell them about the backstory of our name, and let them know they're going to have a place to go to.
Yeah. So hopefully you find it as clever as we did. Yarn over with us. Like, come on and yarn over with us. So, yeah. Anyway, but that's it. That wasn't, earth shattering in any way, but that's okay. We just wanted to explain it. And, we're going to get an Instagram channel.
Yes.
And so we'll be putting up a few things on there. Yeah, soon. It's just time, it's so weird. You'd think our lives would be slowing down. They're not. They're just getting busier and busier.
I think
but that's okay.
The busier they get. They get busier. And some of that could be it takes us longer to do stuff.
Oh my gosh.
I was a robot when I
Yeah.
was younger. I don't even know how I did everything I did. I was not human.
Right? I know. So, but anyway, let's jump into our knitting. Have you finished your advent
I've had finished.
crochet, the
I had finished
squares?
crocheting all the squares,
Yeah.
and I really am thrilled that I did because
I think it's going to be beautiful. I can't wait.
yeah. And so we're going to put up a picture probably about right now. So as you're looking at that picture, let
Okay.
me talk to you about what happened. So last week I showed a baby square that I had made using my joining yarn, which is the denim color
Your
with
main color.
this is going to be my joining yarn for all of the squares.
Right.
And what happened is this pattern for the square, it didn't use as much yarn as the walk through the woods pattern did, which was this pattern here. This is called walking through the woods. And so I didn't have enough to do the little baby square. So what I had to do is I had to add in the joining color is what I did.
Mm-hmm.
So when I laid all of the squares out and I put the 12, so here are the 12 squares with the joining color added. And I worked all week on these. I had one last week when we talked, and then I worked all week to do the other 11, and they were really pretty. I mean, look at these.
They are.
I mean, and I had to do them different ways based on I was weighing every ball to see how many grams I had. And so based on how many grams I had of that color, I had to work them different. And so these are all of the baby squares that I worked on this past week.
Wow. You were busy.
I was busy. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's pretty.
You want to see it again?
Yeah, I like it. No, I like it a lot. It's very pretty. And I don't know about, it's probably my computer screen, but it's showing up as a charcoal gray, but I know that's more of a denim blue.
It's a denim blue. Yeah, it's really pretty.
Yeah, it is so pretty.
But when I laid everything out, these squares looked awful with it. I was not pleased with it. And so I played around.
Don't you hate that?
Oh, I was so, but I can put these in a box. And the great thing about scrap yarns is that you can crochet up these really quick and just keep a box of them. And then pretty soon you make a scrappy blanket. So these will not, these will be put to good use. But you'll see on the picture that I've kind of created the way that I'm going to be putting them together. So the little 12 baby squares are beside their mommy square. And I will be putting them in as borders on the outside of the blanket, which really is neat because it's going to make the blanket a little bit wider, which will be nice.
Okay.
And so, this coming week, my goal is to start putting this blanket together. And it's going to really be a big celebration for me when I get this finished because 2024 Advent is my 4th Advent that I've done. 2021 is not finished. 2022 is not finished. 2023 is not finished. And I have crocheted all the yarn, and this is going to be the first Advent that I have completed from beginning to end. And what's so unusual about it is it's a crochet project, which I knit mostly, but I love crocheting. In fact, I learned to crochet first. So anyway, this is what happened this week with my Advent. And so I really am going to start the joining, and we'll have some hopefully some joining squares to show you with the way that they're going to look. So
and how are you joining them? Crocheting, sewing,
and they in the pattern they were told how to do that, We're told
Okay.
the stitch, and she has a beautiful way of putting these squares together. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I'll get to show some of that next week. And then the other thing that I did this week, this is kind of funny the way I did it. I don't have a baby doll that has a right size head, and my granddaughters, have these little heads that they fix the hair. So I've tied
Oh my
this baby
goodness. But
blanket around.
I bet it's about the same size
Not
though,
baby
isn't it?
blanket, a baby bonnet.
Yeah. It's
Baby blanket.
close.
Yeah, so it really is a pretty little bonnet.
My gosh, you knit that and did your
Yes, I did.
Look at the hair.
This is purple hair. This is knitted, and this is an I-cord little tie for the bonnet, and you knit this portion of the hat a little bit longer, and then you fold it in and you attach it on the inside, and so it's hollow to where you feed the I-cord around the hat.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I used an organic cotton, and this was the yarn that I used, and it is by Blue Sky Fibers, and it's their skinny organic cotton, and it's in the color pink. And I decided to do the hat in organic cotton because sometimes babies have sensitivity to wool, and plus the baby's being born at the end of January, and the mom is wanting to put the baby in a lot of bonnets, and she actually picked out this pattern. This was the pattern she picked out. And I thought that cotton would create warmth for the winter months, but it would be cool enough to wear on into the spring, So that's why I chose an organic cotton. But I want to talk about this I-cord. The I-cord.
It's very delicate. It's very delicate looking.
It's a very delicate I-cord. Most I-cords are a 3-stitch I-cord,
right.
And I looked on YouTube and found a 2-stitch I-cord. And so the girl that was explaining the 2-stitch I-cord was.
How does that work?
Well, we'll put.
I'm running through it in my head.
We'll put a video up of me doing it, because here's what I learned about that 2-stitch I-cord. The video was showing it in English knitting. And I'm mainly continental. I do both. And so I started doing that I-cord in English knitting, and I thought, oh, this is going to take me forever. And so I switched hands and started doing this 2-stitch I-cord in my left hand, and I zipped right through it, continental knitting. And so what I want to say here is that years ago, when we moved to Huntsville, Alabama, there was a yarn shop here in town that I found, and I joined their weekly little circle, yarn circle. And there was a lady that showed up every week, and when she was knitting beside me, I was thinking, man, she's knitting fast. I can't even see her throwing that yarn. And I would watch her. And so one week and she would come in and she would just be leaps and bounds ahead in her project. And it's like, how are you knitting your project that fast? So that particular week I was watching her. So I finally said, what are you doing? I said, I can't even see you throw that yarn around your needles. I said, you are knitting so fast. She said, well, I'm not throwing. She said, I'm continental knitting. So I said, well, let me see what you're doing. So she held her yarn and project up to me, and she slowly did the continental knitting knit stitch and purl stitch. And then she took off and did it. Really fast. And so I determined after seeing that I was going to learn to continental knit. And so what I did is I watched YouTube videos, and I started off with patterns, like I've told many times how many baby blankets I have to knit. So I found some baby blankets that were just garter stitch, and I I knitted those garter stitch blankets Continental because the knit stitch is the easiest to learn with Continental knitting. And then when I really got that down and felt comfortable with it, then I started learning the purl stitch. And
Right.
what this has done for me is it's made me a faster knitter because I can knit faster
Sure.
because you're cutting down, you're eliminating that throwing. And
That's
even
right.
when
Yeah.
I do English knitting, I do more flicking than throwing. I'm more of a flicker. But still, I am faster with Continental knitting. And so with this particular I-cord, the knit stitch, and then there is a purl that you have to do. It's really an incomplete purl, but you have to go through pulling the yarn to the front. And it was totally different with Continental knitting. I never mind purling. There are designers that I know that every one of their designs are garter stitch. Because
people don't like to purl. Yeah, they don't like to purl.
But
I don't mind it.
If you will learn Continental knitting, purling is nothing. It's really a throwing of the yarn. Either the yarn's in the back or you push it to the front. And I love moss stitch. I love seed stitch, and I love 2x2 ribs. I literally could knit an entire blanket and do a garter stitch by purling every stitch, every row, because purling becomes nothing with Continental. So my challenge to all of you that are watching, if you are an English knitter, start trying, because I was in my 40s when I learned, and I learned to knit at 9 years old, and I didn't learn to Continental knit till I was in my 40s. And so
golly, I can't remember
a new thing.
I learned, I mean, I definitely wasn't how I started. So it's, it's more recent. I don't even remember how I learned. Did I learn from you?
I think I talked to you about
You might have.
I think I did.
Yeah, you might have. You might have. I don't even know. But I mean, I think it's good to know both ways. Oh yeah.
Yeah, mainly.
I mean, first of all, I like how still your arms can be, because when you're in a small space like a plane, or just sitting next to other people, like we knit, Susie and I knit just about everywhere. Mm-hmm. Your arms aren't doing things. In fact, you can knit and people don't know.
A lot of issues with tennis elbow and carpal tunnel issues.
Yeah.
And there's less issues with that with Continental knitting. There's something about English knitting that uses
my daughter can't. My daughter cannot knit anymore, but she does it.
Does she English knit?
Mm-hmm. See, because she gets like a carpal tunnel thing, and she gets such severe pain. She's crocheting.
It happens worse with people that English knit. There is something about the Continental knitting that changes the way that your arms are using, and the way it's totally different. And here's the thing: if you learn both ways and you switch it out, because a lot of times when I knit socks, I like to use the 9-inch, and a lot of times I'll do English knitting with the 9-inch needles versus Continental with sock.
Oh yeah, I do. I for sure do.
And so when you know both,
there's just
literally can switch back and forth. Which, if you know how to do this, then Fair Isles knitting becomes very easy because you're using yarn in both hands. And I've always said, people will say, "Well, I'm left-handed or I'm right-handed." Well, that plays into something when you crochet, but when you are knitting, I tell people there's no such thing as right-handed or left-handed knitting.
That's true.
Either hold your yarn in the right hand or you hold it in the left hand. And if you do Fair Isles knitting, it doesn't matter if you're an English knitter. Unless you're just dropping the yarn and switching or whatever, being able to hold that yarn in both hands and switch out which yarn you're using to stitch, it makes things a whole lot easier. And so, consider trying Continental knitting. It's it's good for your brain. It's good for our brain to learn new things.
For sure. people say, do you do crossword puzzles? I'm like, no, I knit. I knit
I
and
crochet.
yeah, I mean, that's enough. That so well, that's cool. But that two stitch I
I
cord. I'm sitting here ruminating in my brain, and I know we're going to see a video, so I'll have to watch it because I'm going to insert the video in the editing process. But yeah, just two stitches.
Just two stitches, and it makes it much smaller and more petite for baby things. Okay, I'm going to show how that I do a two-stitch I-cord. I'm going to show you in English knitting, and then I'm going to show you continental knitting. And this is an I-cord that I made for the baby hat that is sitting right here. And so the first thing you'll do is cast on two stitches. And then after your two stitches cast on, well, we're going to do English knitting first. So once you get your two stitches cast on, you're going to knit the first stitch. So we're going to knit the first stitch. And then we're going to pull the yarn forward as to purl the next stitch. You'll place your needle into the stitch as to purl, but not complete that stitch as a purl stitch. You'll just lift it off of the end of the needle. And then you'll get your yarn back in position. You'll get your yarn back in position, or your needle back in position, to make the next stitch. We'll do that again. You're going to knit the first stitch, pull your yarn forward, and then place your needle into the next stitch as to purl and lift off the needle. I'm going to do that one more time. And I always give a tug to the I-cord once I do those stitches. Well, my yarn is splitting. Sorry about that. So we're going to knit the first stitch. Then we're going to pull the yarn forward, and we're going to stick the needle in as to purl and lift it off the end of the stitch. So that is how that you would do this two-stitch I-cord in English knitting. Now to continental knit, we're going to put the yarn in the left hand, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to knit the first stitch, and then we'll just pull the yarn forward and place the needle in as to purl, but don't wrap, just lift it off the end. The neat thing about continental knitting is the yarn never has to leave my hand. I just twist the needle around, and I'm back in position to do those two stitches again. We're going to knit the first stitch, pull the yarn forward, and we're going to lift this off as a purl stitch. And again, we just twist the needle. We're back in position to do those two stitches again. We're going to knit the first stitch, and we're going to place the needle, pull the yarn forward, place the needle in the stitch as to purl, but just lift it off the end of the stitch. And that is a two-stitch I-cord.
How cool is that? Well, anything else that you've been working on? That's enough, but because I haven't really been doing a lot.
No, I've got so many things that I've got to knit, but that's what I knitted on this week. And we had snow this week.
Well, we did not. We had ice, and I was so disappointed. We didn't get any pretty snow. I know everybody here was really disappointed.
That's still magical, because the reason that I call them the magical days of winter is because it's that day that you can't, leave your house probably.
Well, we did stay home. It did give us,
and you cook comfort foods, and you watch movies. Yeah. And for us, we knit, we crochet.
I bake bread. I bake bread.
Our pajamas, however you say that. Make bread.
Yeah.
I made bread.
It was, it had been over a week since I had made bread. And I tend to make just one loaf at a time because we don't eat bread super fast. When I had kids, I made, 2 to 3 loaves a week. But this week, I made 2 loaves. So just, because I can put one in the refrigerator and it can just sit there and wait in case I don't have time.
Well, we make
But,
our bread totally different than so many people. Sourdough is a huge popular thing that's happening right now, but we don't. I really don't have. I'm not home, and I don't have time to feed that stuff.
Exactly. I'm like, I don't need another thing to attend to. Oh my gosh.
I would feel like I was in prison. It's like, I got to get home and feed that bread. I got to feed that bread.
I got to remember to water my plants. I mean, I'm like, I'm so busy, and I'm not home a lot these days. I can't do it. I can't take it. And I know
what we need to do is mill it, and that's what we do.
Yeah. So speaking of milling, I kind of bought myself a Christmas present. Well, no, this is how this worked. I bought my daughter a Christmas present, and then I thought, after doing research on YouTube, and then I got one, and I liked it so much I bought myself one. So here's the deal. I used to have a freestanding grinder, and I gave it away. Long story. Gave it to some missionaries, doesn't matter. Just, I wasn't eating a lot of bread anymore anyway, and then I missed bread. So I decided I need another mill, and I didn't want another appliance taking up room in my cabinet. So I have a KitchenAid. My KitchenAid is 30 years old, and it still works perfectly. But I also knew from all the reviews that I have seen, people didn't really care for it. The grain attachment, the mill attachment, it didn't really grind well. And probably mostly because they didn't use stone grinders anyway, because stone really grinds the best. So I started doing some research on YouTube. This is one I love, YouTube. It's our library, right? Our research center. And I looked at a couple of videos, but it was the gal on, I think it's called Our Gabled Home. And I really don't know her name because at the beginning she doesn't say her name. So we're going to tag you in this, but you need to say your name because I really like her. So she actually had her KitchenAid. She had the KitchenAid attachment. She had the attachment she was showcasing, which is called the mock mill attachment. And then she had a mock mill freestanding. And so she kind of gave actual comparisons and milled, and the mock mill attachment was amazing. And the thing, it's like this big. It's like really small. So I can store that in my cabinet. Yeah. So I'm going to show a video here. All right, you're not going to really see me anymore, but I am going to go ahead and show you how this works. Super simple. So, got to take this guy off right here. And you're going to put that aside and put this aside as well. Don't lose it. You're not going to use it for the attachment. They're going to provide their own. So I keep mine in a little baggie so I don't lose it. And you're simply going to put that in there, turn it until you feel it lock, and screw it in. And that is it. Now, here's another thing I love about the mock mill attachment. Besides the fact that it actually used stones to grind, it has this little guide that gets your wheat, your flour, I should say, right into your bowl. The KitchenAid mixers don't do that, and it's really kind of crazy. And then you put your little tray on there. I am going to, oh, by the way, I never do this when it's plugged in because you just never know. Plug it in, fill it. I'm putting it to the finest. This is the guide here. I'm going to the finest. I think you get the idea. And it is beautiful, beautiful flour. I mean, the thing ground beautifully. And actually, it's just such a better attachment than KitchenAid. So I got it, and like I said, I had to make sure it really worked as well as it did, because I didn't want to give a bogus present to my daughter. And I was so excited, I almost got teary. It's a great attachment, and it works just as good as the freestanding. And the Mock Mill grain mill is really highly rated, like right up there with the infamous Whisper Mill. So is it still called a Whisper Mill?
It's called a Wonder Mill now, but when I bought it years ago, it was called a Whisper Mill. And I've probably had my meal for 25 years. I'm using the same meal, and it's been very loved and very used. But
oh yeah. And so I reconnected with a food co-op again because I needed grain. And so I had the mill. I didn't have any grain, and it's outrageous to get it on Amazon. So I got some einkorn wheat, and I got some spelt, and I got some millet, and I made bread. So that was fun. But here's another really funny thing. This is embarrassing, but it's true. Because it's a really old house. It has a very small basement. I had a sealed drum of wheat down there, still in the bags, okay, from my co-op from years ago.
It was in a drum?
And of course,
it was in
a big sealed drum, yes.
Okay.
And it was up on blocks, and it was down there for years and years, and it was there for a long time. It's been there probably 20 years.
Wow. Well, that goes to show you that it doesn't go back.
So this is what happened. And then we emptied our basement to renovate the house. Yeah. And anyway, it got taken out, I guess. And I didn't really
telling me that you were afraid Danny had thrown it away because you were looking for
he didn't know where it was. I said to him, now I've got this grain mill. I said,
where's my grain?
I had wheat. He said, oh, it won't be good anymore. I said, well, it should be, but because it was in a really expensive, big 55-gallon drum. And anyway, he said, well, I haven't seen it. And I said, oh my gosh, did you throw it away? Because we literally had 3 dumpsters, big ones, of stuff taken out of our house, construction debris and whatnot. And I said, I can't imagine anyone would have put that in the dumpster. So I thought, whatever. So I ordered more grain. So he goes outside to his workshop, which is actually a 200-plus-year-old house that's on the original homestead here. And he said, Linda, I found your drum. I said, open it up. No, he's calling me because where was I? Oh, I was at the hospital, of course. And he says, I found it. I said, open it up. And he did. I said, what does it look like? It's dry.
After 20-some years.
I think my wheat has survived, so I really don't know, because now what I want to do before I open the bags and take it out of the drum is I want to get some of the buckets with the gamma lids, because I really don't, because they're either 25 or 50-pound bags. I don't even know anymore. So I probably have a whole bunch of wheat. So I've been baking bread again with the wheat I bought at the co-op. But I learned something really interesting from one of these channels that have these, I think they're Norwegian people. They don't ever talk. They just have a beautiful scene where they, have the camera on it. So do you sift your flour?
I don't.
Do you ever sift? I have never. I've never even heard we should. Now we know to sift flour for cakes. And why do we do that? It's to add air to make it real spongy.
Make it light.
Look at this.
Oh, wow.
This is so, look at my beautiful,
that's
it's just
beautiful.
And it just worked. And I thought, how is it? It's 2025. I've been making bread for so long and never knew that. But we always learn new things.
I saw my
grandma. So sift your flour, even if you buy it.
Sift flour for her biscuits. She would sift the flour when she did biscuits.
And that's what makes them real soft and airy. Yes.
Yeah. But
So
I
I
have
was
not done
thinking,
that for my bread.
I know, it's
That's a
crazy.
great idea. I'm going to do
I
that.
know. So, I make basically 50-50 bread. So it's 50% whole wheat and then 50% a soft wheat or a spelt, something that's not,
Mhm.
you can even use all purpose flour. But yeah, so sift it. That's
I'm
the
gonna do
takeaway of
that.
the whole thing. It's
Good idea.
amazing.
Yeah.
It was a game changer. And I have one, of course, over there that we have half eaten already.
Mm.
And
You're
it's
making me want a
so,
sandwich.
I know, it's
I want a
amazing. It's
sandwich.
amazing. I don't know how I've gone on this long without knowing that.
My brother-in-law, he loves homemade bread so much. My sister Sherry is so busy. And last night I was talking to her on the
It's
phone, and
hard.
we were talking about how that, our husbands really should be the number one in our life, outside of, um, we would say, our relationship with the Lord. But
Right?
I was telling Sherry, I said, Sherry, you're getting so busy. Don't let Bill go down to the bottom of the pile. I said, it is so easy for a husband to get to the bottom. She said, oh,
Right.
Susie, she said, if I can just cook enough bread and keep his belly full of bread, he'll be happy.
Oh, I know. And
Because
it's really,
he is so frustrated that she is not making him
I
bread. He
know.
wants that bread. It's really true that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. It's the
I
truth.
know.
My
Well,
husband,
it's,
he loves me to be in the kitchen cooking anything. He just loves
well, I'll tell you, we just, yeah, we just kind of went some time without really eating a lot of bread. And then when we were buying it, because we weren't eating that much of it. But I don't even like what's in any of the healthy breads. It's best to make it.
it.
But I love the smell of it. And even when I was baking all the time, I mean, my kids were literally raised on homemade bread. They only ate
Mine
store
too.
bread if they left the house. But there's something therapeutic about it. Even though I use the KitchenAid to knead it and stuff, it's just I think we're just creators. I think, people who knit, crochet, do all these crafts,
It's
we're
crafting.
creators. It's part of,
Yeah.
yeah, it's crafting. I think that's
Well,
it.
and you
But
talked
it
about
smells so good.
you said something a while ago about how that your love language was acts of service. And
Hmm.
I have found that most people that are in any type of service industry, or they love crafting, or they
Right.
love cooking, most of those people, their love language is acts of service. I mean, look what I do. I lay lashes all day long. I put
Yeah.
eyelashes on people, and that's a service.
Yeah.
Nurses, doctors, teachers, uh, cooks,
Yeah.
all of those people that craft and make crafts and give them away to people that they love.
Hmm.
So probably most all of you that are watching us today, your love language is probably acts of service. And
Oh, well, if not, you're just creative. And I think that's just part of humans, because we were created, and so we like to blah. We created, and so we like to create. So it's a thing, but I do love baking bread. I don't really enjoy cooking. And what I mean by that is cooking is not fun to me. Cooking is a means to an end. And I'm a good cook because I like flavor. I cannot stand boring food. So I'm told I'm a good cook, but I don't like
are
say,
a
oh, I
good
can't
cook.
wait to get in the kitchen and cook. I don't even like watching food channels. I mean, to me, I'm just like, oh, they don't thrill me, but I do like baking bread.
I like
So,
I like
do
cooking all.
you?
I do. I like the kitchen.
Really? I
Yes,
did not
and I
know
love
that.
kitchen gadgets, and I love
Yeah, see,
and
I'm not a
and
gadget.
talking about gadgets on one of our episodes. Linda talked about she talked about the little nut the little nut chopper. What did you
Chopper.
call it?
Hmm.
It's a nut
Well, I think they
chopper,
call it a grinder
a
chopper, but
grinder,
it
and
it chops it.
yeah. So if you watch that episode, she showed it. And she ended up sending me one, and I was so excited. I have used it several times, and it just
Have you?
Yeah, it chops up the nuts just perfect. They're not too big, not too little. It's perfect.
They are perfect size. That is true for, sprinkling and things. But it's
Yeah,
really funny because Teresa, when we got done with that, that's one of the Christmas episodes. Teresa, she actually mentioned that she remembers having one in her home. And I wanted to say, oh, and I bought one for Susie, but I knew you'd see it. And then that I was sending you one. So I couldn't say anything.
I'm so excited.
A red one. Yeah.
Yes,
So of course, and I
it.
found a red one. That's so wild. And speaking of comments, let's see. Teresa also mentioned about what what she did with her mother's knitting needles, and she did put them in a vase and made a bouquet of them. And honestly, that sounds like the easiest thing to do. That's probably what I'll end up doing.
Yes. That's a good idea.
Yeah, get a really pretty something to put it in. I like that. And Deborah and Heather both made a sweet comment about caring for our family members. But yeah, so thank you for the nice thoughts and comments. You get anything going on in your kitchen? Are you baking bread?
I made bread this week. I made bread.
Did you?
And, I did spaghetti, and I did a chicken casserole, and I made a grits and egg little casserole that you bake in the oven, and that was really good. I did that one day, and I've just been doing stuff in the kitchen.
Oh my gosh, grits and eggs.
Plenty of time.
We're out of eggs.
Huh?
It's so crazy. This is the first time in 30 years, I think it's 30 years, I have no eggs. It's just so tragic.
I don't have any chickens.
You don't have any chickens,
I don't have any chickens.
We literally got rid of our entire flock in November. We had so many egg eaters, and they were teaching each other to eat eggs. They were teaching even the young ones that hadn't even started laying to eat eggs. I know. I mean, because they're copycats. If you have chickens, they just do what the other one does. That's why when you get new chickens, just teach one where the water and food is. They'll get it, and everybody will copy them. So, but they were copying some really bad habits. And eating eggs is like treason. I mean, it's like high crimes in the hen house, because we don't feed these things, every day to not get any eggs. And that's really what was happening. So we had some young ones in another area who weren't with the big girls yet. And so we made the tough decision to just get rid of our entire flock. And I was really sad. I shed a tear, but I know it's worth it. But anyway, so we have these young pullets that won't be laying until probably March, so another 2 months. And we haven't had time to go to our neighbors to even get eggs, because our neighbors all have chickens as well. And we have no eggs.
You've had to buy some eggs from the grocery store.
Well, no, we've been buying them from other people.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I've been buying, but we're buying eggs all the same. And it's so crazy to not have eggs. I mean, it's just because we're out. I mean, like, we're totally out. I'm like, how is this? Because I eat eggs a lot. So anyway, small problems. Anyway, anything else?
I'm talked out. I can't.
We're talked out. Oh no, I know. So one of the things that we didn't actually talk about is we're gonna start putting up some other little videos, and we just thought we'd share them. And they're gonna be called scrap yarns. And scrap yarns are gonna be a little bit shorter videos than our long visits. And so they'll just be a little parts pulled from our main videos. So you may enjoy watching scrap yarns, but if you want to see the whole deal, come back to the main video. So yeah. So anyway, that's something exciting to add to our website and our upcoming Instagram. So anyway, we're just trying to be there for you as much as we can. So anyway, all righty, my friend. Well, I think that's it. Yeah.
That's it. Thanks for coming and sharing with us, sharing this time with us, and stay warm this week. If you're somewhere where it's still cold and snow, enjoy the simple things of life.
Yes.
Just enjoy life.
Yeah.
And make sure you carry your yarn and your needles every day.
I do. In fact, it's sitting on my lap because it's warm. So anyway, all righty. Well, we will see you next week. Take care.
Okay.
Bye.